Kids, this is Module 53. This one's on profit maximization. So as an economist, remember, we're always trying to maximize our profit wherever we possibly can. So as you look at this one today, it's going to focus on that particular fact. So what are you going to look here at our maximizing our profit? Remember, total revenue and total costs are just functions of output, right? So as more units are sold, total revenue and total costs are going to rise. So the goal of the firm is just to be like, hey, where can I make the greatest economic profit, right? Where is that maximized for me? So what we are going to do is we're going to look at marginal analysis. Okay, we've done this before, but what we really want to get at in econ is how much does the next unit give me versus how much does the next unit cost me? So if you look at marginal revenue, it's always about the next unit. So if you look at the definition here, marginal revenue here is the change in the total revenue divided by the change in the quantity. Now, the nice part is almost every time you see these questions, the change in the quantity is going to be one, like 1 unit of time, 1 unit of labor, 1 hour, $1, whatever that might be. So that quantity is just going to go up by 1. If that goes up by 1, then my total revenue, right, the change in total revenue is just going to be like you could just subtract, because the change in total revenue divided by 1 is going to just be the difference, right? So I could just subtract that value of my one total revenue to the next total revenue. My marginal cost, same thing. They're almost always going to give you marginal cost by looking at the next one unit. So if I can take the change in total cost divided by 1, I just need to know the difference between the 4th and the 5th. And then I know what my marginal cost is. So what's going to happen is the firms are going to keep producing until your marginal revenue is equal to your marginal cost. If your marginal revenue, now think about what that means, my per unit revenue is greater than my per unit cost, I'm going to keep producing. And knowing that those, like, my costs are going to be increasing as I produce more, right? But eventually what's going to happen is my revenue is going to stay here and my costs are going to come up. And as soon as the cost of making it equals how much it's bringing in, that's where I'm going to stop, right? Why would you make more than that? Because that would mean the cost of making it is more than the revenue coming in. So we got to break everything down to 1 unit so we can see that. If you had to get a tattoo of economics, this is probably what you would get. If you were doing from a micro side anyway, you'd get MC equals MR, probably tattooed across your lower back, because this is really the most important part of microeconomics. You want your marginal revenue to equal your marginal cost. How much is coming in is equal to how much is going out, right? When you look at this graph, okay, so when you see this, and I'll redraw it down here. So as you look at this particular graph, maybe I should make that just a smidge smaller. As you look at this graph, you can see that my marginal revenue is a horizontal line. So here's my price and my quantity on my graph. My marginal revenue is coming in horizontal. So why is my marginal revenue equal to my price? It's equal to my price because when you think about buying another unit, if this price is $10 and to sell 2, it's going to be another $10. To sell 3, it's going to be another $10, another $10, another $10. If I'm trying to figure out how much the next one coming in brings me in terms of value, it's always going to bring in $10 because the price is $10. So my marginal revenue and my price are going to equal the same because my price is constant, right? Every time I bring it in, it's going to be a $10 difference by getting 1 more unit made, okay? Or sold, I should say. In this case, though, my marginal cost, that red line up there, that marginal cost is going to be representing the change again, right? Because margin is now on a change here. So I'm going to say, or what's going to happen is my marginal costs are going to come down at the beginning. So they come down at the beginning due to specialization in tasks. When you can divide out the workload, if you think about the assembly line, right? Marginal cost comes down because people, as I buy more units of a factor, for example, like labor, my factor is going to be worth more to me, right? They can be more efficient. So as that happens, my costs go down at the beginning. But then what's going to happen is I keep adding people in, my costs are going to go up. So my marginal costs are going to look like this. You're going to see that my marginal cost and my price, my marginal revenue, are going to cross at a certain point. Where they cross, what that indicates to me is that my price is now equal on a per unit basis. My marginal revenue is equal to my cost on a per unit basis. So in this case, I should make 5 things, because if it costs me more to make it than it does to produce it, then I'm not going to make 5 things. I'm not going to make 6 things because it costs me too much, right? So if 6 is here someplace, and I go here, I'm only getting this much price, but it costs me this much to make it. So that means my costs are higher than my revenue. That seems silly. But somebody will say, but Mr. Dessar, what if I only make 4 of these things, right? Then my costs are only down here and my price is up here. Am I not making more money? No, you are not making more money, because you're missing out on this last little bit of profit right here, that triangle, right? You want to get up to the 5th unit because you want to get every last penny. What we'll find is a good business person knows what their marginal costs are. They know what their marginal revenue is, and they're going to squeeze every last penny out of that business and get up to here. And then they'll stop, right? They won't go up here because they know my costs are higher than my revenue, and they'll come back down, and this will be our line. All right. If my price were to change, now that would be different. Then I'm going to, have more and make more, because now my marginal revenue is increased or decreased, right? Then I'm going to go, oh, I'll make more to where marginal cost is, or I'll make less to where marginal cost is. That's the idea behind marginal revenue and marginal cost equaling each other. So as long as economic profit is greater than or equal to 0, you keep operating, right? You're going to keep producing. If for some reason your economic profit dips below 0, then you might start saying, well, should we shut down? What should we do with our resources? Then you're not going to want to maybe produce. But as long as you're producing at, like 0 or above, then you're like, yes. Might make a little economic profit in there as well. Okay? So as you look at it, that's the whole concept of marginal cost and marginal revenue. We'll do a bunch of practice with this, and then the whole next unit, and from here on out, we're just going to be looking at these kind of cost curves and be able to see where our marginal costs and marginal revenues are. All right? With that being said, see you next time.